Time. Colors. Hope. Present. Hope.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. Almighty God, Spirit of love, you are known by many names. In the spirit of enthusiasm and hope, we give thanks for the opportunity to gather here today. We are grateful for the work you have given us to do, helping one another create a better world. As we begin our symposium, we dedicate this time to you. Bless the presenters, the attendees, and volunteers who made this possible. Bless the veterans, the service people and their families, and all those who serve or have served. Bless our gathering today. This is the day which you have made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.
Please be seated. We're back. Woo! Look at this. It's awesome. We are live and in person, and absolutely no one can put anyone or can accidentally be on mute. Yay! Most common phrase for 3 years in a row, so-and-so, you're on mute. None of that here. We are going to maintain the official virtual presentation or virtual meeting hello and goodbye protocol. Is everybody okay with that? Do you know what that is? Come on, come on. It doesn't work as well in person, does it? I kind of thought it might not, but that's okay. We're going to keep doing it all the next 2 days. Okay. Hey, welcome to the 13th annual Statewide Symposium in support of service members, veterans, and their families. We have an amazing, exciting day planned for you. We've got a bunch of surprises that are going to happen today. I can't wait for you to see them. Got some things that we've never done before, which I'm really excited about because, you know, why not, right? We're all back together. Let's do some kind of fun things. And tomorrow, we've got another whole pack of fun things that we're going to do. Plus, Governor Hobbs is going to come and visit with us and talk with us. So we're really excited about that as well. So my name, for those of you who may not know, is Thomas Winkel. I'm the director of the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. I am a United States Marine. Woo, that was a good one. And I'm really happy to be your MC today. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm excited. So, we're going to keep going from there. I wanted to make, everybody aware that we had an amazing opening ceremony. We had Pipe Major Leonard Wood. We had the posting of the colors. It was conducted by the Honor Guard from Luke Air Force Base. The national anthem was sung by Navy veteran Garland Miller. 216 years in a row he's been singing that for us. Yeah, it's amazing. He's amazing. He's almost as old as the Marine Corps himself, which he loves because he's a Navy guy. An invocation was done by Reverend Laura Adelia, retired Lieutenant Colonel with the United States Air Force, and she's doing some amazing things with her faith-based organization to help support service members with moral injury and all sorts of good things. So thank you very much for coming and blessing our meeting here today. Okay, so all of you are VIPs, but there's a couple of special guests that I would like to be able to recognize. From the governor's office, Tanya Hamilton. All right, you're going to be hearing from her in just a little bit. We also have Kenesha Jackson. She's the Military and Veterans Affairs Policy Advisor. Olivia Christiani. She is the Director of Communications. From the office of Congressman Eli Crane, we have Jeff Tim. Thanks for being here, Jeff. We have Penny Pugh from Paul Gosser's office. We have Julia Gussie, Senior Advisor to the Undersecretary for Benefits. Really cool story about Julie. She used to be with us. She was at Veterans Upward Bound at ASU. Kind of cool. She was also a councilwoman with the city of Maricopa. So thank you for being here today. We really appreciate you. And you're going to hear from her tomorrow. We also have Luis Falcon. He is from the Congressman Raul Grijalva's office, and Kelly Mills and Kaylee Benford from the office of Senator Kristen Sinema. So thank you one and all for being here. We really appreciate you. And round of applause. So we have some title sponsors. Anybody guess who they are? So we have the Arizona Department of Veterans Services. We also have the Phoenix VA Healthcare System. Appreciate the both of you for being our title sponsors this year. We also have our presenting sponsor, that is Access, the Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System. We have our partner sponsors, Arizona Governor's Council on Spinal and Head Injuries, New Start Recovery Solutions, Mercy Care, Banner University Family Care, Tri-West Healthcare Alliance, APS, Unite Us Community Cares, University of Arizona Global Campus, Arizona Complete Health, and Raytheon. And of course, we have all of our supporting sponsors. I also want to say a special note of gratitude to the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family for their continued support of everything that we do. Look, folks, here's the deal. The sponsorship is really important because it allows us to be able to put on this amazing event. It allows us to be able to have seafood stuffed into seafood for our lunch, and I hope that's really good. And also some lemon chicken. And so that's going to be really tasty. But on a serious note, it allows us a time to be able to get together and connect. And I mean, I don't know what is more lovely than that. This is a wonderful event, and the sponsorship allows us to do that. But honestly, more importantly, you know what the sponsorships allows us to do? It allows us to provide scholarships. It allows us to provide scholarships to service members, veterans, and their families themselves to be able to participate and hear all the good stuff that's happening. It also allows organizations that are a little bit smaller or don't have a set-aside fund to be able to fund the registration costs, and it allows them to be able to come and participate. And that's where the magic happens, right? Magic always happens at the local level. All right. I also want everyone to be aware that the symposium planning team was presented with many challenges here, not the least of which was the fact that our last live event was in 2019. That's right, folks. And I don't know if you've seen the data on this, but there's a lot of research going into the fact that COVID years are akin, if you will, to dog years. So the last time we did a symposium was 28 years ago. That being said, they all pulled together and they've done a great job. And I thank you. I think you're going to be, just have a really wonderful experience these next 2 days. Because of their efforts, I also want to thank Heidi Lindsay, the proud spouse of a post 9/11 veteran who coordinated all of this from Kansas City. Thank you, Heidi. Yeah. And Heidi, who won the Super Bowl this year? All right. Okay. I guess there was a little ball game that happened. So we also want to recognize the many speakers that we have that you're going to be hearing from, both in the general session and out in our breakouts. Your bringing of knowledge to us is key. Part of the reason for having this get together, one of them is networking. The second is to spread best practices so that we all have a firm foundation from which to work from. Incredibly important. So thank you for participating with us and lending your time and expertise to what we're going. And also the exhibitors. Please go in, make your rounds, talk with each and every one of them. They've got some great services. Each and every one of them is a network, Be Connected Network partner. And so, we have a vetting process that we use that you all know about, and they're here because they're providing great stuff. All right, now we're going to play a video. Awesome. All right. From the bottom of my hearts, we really appreciate everyone being here. Next, I am really pleased to introduce you to Lieutenant Colonel retired Dana Almond, the incoming director of the Arizona Department of Veterans Services. Dana graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Maybe you've heard of that. She holds both a master's in counseling and leadership development from Long Island University and an MBA from Arizona State University. The Arizona Department of Veterans Services is a significant force for good in our state, and we look forward to working with Dana to continue to build upon the continued strong partnership that all of us have going forward. So please join me in welcoming Dana Almond.
Thanks, Thomas. I'm just gonna, and I told him to pull me off the stage if I get too long-winded. I have these notes, but at this point, this is a pretty special moment in my life. Many of you have transitioned out of the military and trying to figure out what you're gonna do next. It's tough. I retired a little over 6 years ago from the Army and from active duty. And it was a big deal. So there's folks out here, I call them the usual suspects. I've been doing a lot of grassroots, and I'm trying to get in every space that I can. I like to try to figure out how to bogart my way into wherever space I can get to. I think maybe we can progress to take care of our military members, veterans, and their family members. So I just want to, thank you, Thomas, for your partnership. I've watched you and Wanda from afar, virtually. And, the energy coming through the screen was really awesome, but this is way better. This is so cool. And I'm among, folks who are, fellow public servants, and that is so awesome. We're out here serving each other. And I just want to, thank, there's some folks at the grassroots level. Carlisle Fleming, I was the chair of the Southern Arizona Veterans Mental Health Advocacy Council, tied with a special partnership with Director Jennifer Katowski. I'd say that if it wasn't for her being so open, there's no way I would have been able to connect with all of you in this manner. Angela Lepresti kept us straight on the council. So I just want to just take in this moment just to thank you. You're public servants, you're out here every day. It's not easy, and you never get thanked enough, in my opinion. So I'm just so fired up to be here. This is a dream come true and a capstone of my whole life. And I know that we're all out here. My focus has been protecting life, limb, health, and welfare, and I know that's what you do every day at every level of this state, in every corner. So I'm just pleased and happy to be a part of this significant opportunity to strengthen those vital forces, those relationships, those partnerships, when we talk about a warm handoff, sometimes folks don't understand what that actually looks like, and I know you do. You take the person's hand, they need help. You grab that hand and you place it in another public servant's hand. We don't just hand out pamphlets. We grab the hand and get it over to the right people. So that is phenomenal, and I want to remain a part of that. My team at ADVS is so phenomenal. Thank you, Wanda Wright, for bringing me on board with all of your advice. That has been great. Now, what we do is we do gap analysis every day to make sure our veteran service members and their families are getting that warm handoff. And I'm going to get into just real quick, those asks. What is the doggone purpose of what we're doing? The ask. I look at, I guess the concept is whole of government approach, and I'll go one step further, the whole of Arizona. I knew way back that, I was gonna have to do a search party to find all these people that we care about and wanna make sure they're thriving every day. And I'm glad to join the team. So I want us to take the advantage of this time, continue to get to know each other. I'm grateful that I will now have a huge amount more of usual suspects as I travel around the state. And I want us to leverage our individual, team, organization, collective talents across every space to keep moving forward. So what I'll say is we're gonna remain focused. We are not alone. We are all in this together. In the military, they go do more with less. Well, we're gonna do more with more together. So thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Dana. Appreciate that. All right, Ms. Tanya. So I am pleased to reintroduce, in a better way, Tanya Hamilton, one of our oldest advocates, champions, and supporters. Man, I am bombing here. This is really tough crowd. Jeez. Yeah. She just asked if I have her AARP card. All right. Look, Nicola and I have known Tanya for many, many years. She was one of the very first folks that stood up and said kind of, hey, let's really have a good conversation about this. We were sent to Washington, D.C. for the SAMHSA VA Governor's Challenge that we've talked about over the course of the years. And at this time, they were a little more draconian about it. They locked us in the basement and they just, all they said is, you're in here for as long as it takes for you to come up with a strategic plan for Arizona to be able to reduce their suicide. 3 years later, they let us out. All right, Tanya. Hey, please join me in welcoming Tanya Hamilton.
Wow. Good morning, everyone. All right. Happy to be here. But I will look at my notes, but I'm going to speak, as I told my director of communications, from my heart, from my head, because I should know this, right? Welcome to the dignitaries in the room, elected officials, current and past state directors, and first and foremost, the veterans that are in the room. We appreciate you, we love you, we support you, we thank you entirely. I'd like to call out a few people that he's mentioned so far, but I'd like to call them out, and I'd like for them to stand as I call you out, from the governor's office, from my office, and from Governor Hobbs' administration. So I would like to call out Emily Litchfield, who serves as the director of the AmeriCorps. At the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family, I'd like to call out Olivia Christiani, who serves as the Director of Communication at the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family. I'd like to call out Kenesha Jackson, who he mentioned, who is Public Safety and Military Policy Advisor. And last but not least, I'd like to call out Ms. Tracy Lopes, who serves as Governor Hobbs' Director of Community Engagement Senior Staff. So I want you to get names and faces because some folks are new, and we would love to have the opportunity to speak to you all at the breaks and whatnot. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, ladies. Girls rock, right? Man. Okay. So now a little bit. My name is Tanya Hamilton, proud native of Arizona, proud to be born at Luke Air Force Base, proud daughter of a 20-year Vietnam veteran, and proud to be raised in the west side of the valley. Go Bruins. In January 2023, I was honored to be appointed by Governor Hobbs to serve as the director and tribal liaison of the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family. I have served at the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family. April 9th was 16 years. I have worked at the pleasure of 4 governors, 29 years in the state of Arizona. So if I tell you I love my state, I'm telling you I love my state. They got it all from me. As Thomas mentioned, I have had the pleasure to be with a partner since 2010 with the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. We've done a lot together. We've done military immersion trainings in Tennessee together. We've traveled, remember that? Woo! 0500, y'all can keep it. We've done military immersion trainings here at Papago Park, which has been phenomenal. We've traveled to DC multiple times for veteran policy. And then here in the Valley, we've just had the opportunity to partner and be leaders working around the employment roadmap that we've assisted with. And of course, be connected. And so all of that to say there's no wrong door, I think is what we would used to say quite a bit in working with veterans, their spouses, and their families, all of which I am, my mother, my father, my family. So I'm very passionate about that work. I'm very passionate to make sure that resources are making it, from the administration, from the feds, from the state, into grassroots organization and providers who are doing the hard work in the communities to work with our folks. So thank you so much to those folks as well. For those of you who are not familiar with the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family, I give you my elevator speech, probably a little longer elevator speech. We are a grant writing office that oversees 9 of the governor's councils and commissions. Our issue areas are that of substance abuse prevention, child well-being, human trafficking, domestic violence, substance abuse prevention, aging, and the AmeriCorps, faith-based initiatives, and of course the AmeriCorps office. We've had the opportunity, of course, to distribute a lot of resources, money, to the Department of Veterans Services, formerly with Colonel Wright, and that work helped us get to the Arizona Coalition for Military Families to do a lot of positive work that they have mentioned, and we will, of course, learn about here today. So I just want to say thank you. If you would like to learn more about our office, please visit goyff.az.gov. We are on all social media platforms but TikTok, and for those who pay attention to press releases. I just want to say thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored. I respect, love, and support you all, and you will have our support as long as I can give it. And I know definitely tomorrow when you hear from Governor Hobbs, you'll hear and know how much this office is going to support and work with everyone in this room. I thank you so much. Have a good day.
All right. Another quick hand for my young friend, Tanya Hamilton. All right, we have a special message from Senator Sinema, who has been an avid supporter of Be Connected since the very beginning and a friend to veterans across the state. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Arizona Senior Senator Kirsten Sinema. I'm proud to welcome you all to the Arizona Coalition for Military Families' 13th Annual Statewide Symposium. As a member of a military family, delivering results for our veterans is personal for me, as it is for so many Arizonans, which is why I'm proud to partner with the Arizona Coalition for Military Families to deliver lasting results for military families. Our teams have worked closely together since it was created after Congress passed the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention for American Veterans Act, ensuring that all service members, veterans, and their families have access to the critical resources and benefits they've earned. As the Arizona Coalition for Military Families grows and expands its partnership with local, state, and federal systems, more veterans in Arizona benefit from its resources and navigate the challenges they often experience. Last month, my office partnered with community members, some of whom are here today, to honor our Arizona Vietnam veterans as part of National Vietnam War Veterans Day. When Americans step up to serve our country, the government makes a promise to ensure all of our veterans receive the highest quality of care and service. That's why I asked to serve on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, so that my team and I could work every day to ensure veterans get the benefits, services, and gratitude that they've earned. While we can never do enough to support our service members, veterans, and their families, I'm proud that several pieces of legislation I introduced were signed into law, including the PACT Act, the Sergeant Daniel Somers Network of Support Act, the Veterans Network of Support Act, the Alexander Lofgren Veterans in Parks Act, and the Legion Act. But my team and I could not do this important work without key partnerships with organizations like the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. Thanks to your initiatives, Thomas and his team connect veterans and their families to critical resources in suicide prevention, employment, and community support. Delivering results for our service members, veterans, and their families is a shared value, regardless of political party. And I'm honored to continue this tripartisan work alongside each of you, our friends at the Arizona Coalition, and my colleagues on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. These last couple of years have been very hard for many as we continue to come out of very stressful times. We know the impact that social determinants of health can have on our health and overall well-being. That's why I encourage all of you to join me in my office and be a part of the Be Connected network to upstream suicide prevention efforts and support all who've served. Thank you, Thomas, and your entire team for all the work you do and for continuing to host this important event throughout all these years.
And thank you, Senator. All right, thank you. The lone laugh right here. My guys, you gotta give me my due. All right, so really appreciate the senator's remarks. I have to draw kind of additional special attention to Kelly Mills, for those of you who know her. She is exceptional. She does some amazing work. She has been consistent and graceful and all sorts of other positive things, but is also willing to get in on the technical side of things, and we always appreciate that about her. Senator Sinema referenced the social determinants of health, and you will hear of almost nothing else for the next 2 days. I hope you're okay with that. You are fulfilling those, so it fits with our mode. But We are driving really hard to try to ensure that not only us have as clear a picture about social determinants of health and their ability to prevent suicide, but that the service members and veterans and their families know about it too, because it's very, very difficult to communicate that. So it's going to take all of us, the whole state, as Dana said. Be Connected is centered around social determinants of health because it gives a more complete picture of what is potentially contributing to a person's well-being or their struggle. It provides a roadmap for more opportunities in which we can help. I am a mental health therapist. When I started to really look at all of the possible resources that were out there, I was so encouraged because then I knew that the good work that I was doing as a therapist could be continued because we were taking the difficulties out of an individual's life that were interfering with their therapeutic, their mental health success. Now, we know that the risk of suicide is about more than only one factor, mental health. Many of you have heard me say this many times, but when we were working with the National Guard ending suicide there, the two primary reasons for their deaths were finances and relationships. Finances and relationships. But I've heard people who have died by suicide for every social determinant of health. It's unnecessary because we have the resources, we have you to be able to assist with that. A well-rounded approach allows us as a community to respond to all of the needs of a person or a family might have. And one of our primary goals with Be Connected is to open doors. So we open the door as wide as we can by providing support. And what is on the other side of that door? You. You and your programs. It's awesome. Are you awesome? All right. Did anyone say no? The door leads to you, your organizations and communities. That's what Be Connected was created for. Every day our Be Connected team connects service members, veterans, and their families to information, resources, career opportunities, and more. Be Connected isn't really an entity in and of itself. It is us. And that's kind of a cool thing to think about, isn't it? We also know that sometimes it takes a lot of you to get a veteran back on course. Here's an example of how our community works together to make that happen. I'm going to look at a financial struggle. And I want you to count the different organizations with me, if you will. Last year, a recently separated Marine who settled in Arizona was looking for a holiday support for his young son. He had no money to be able to provide his kiddo a gift or multiple gifts. As a parent, think about that. It's kind of crushing. The veteran uses VHA for his physical health care and VA community care program for his mental health. There's 2. The community care therapist at Iridescent Counseling Center, 3, referred the veteran to help with holiday support for his son. Through the Be Connected, he was nominated and accepted for 2 different holiday programs with the Arizona Law Enforcement Shop with a sheepdog program. That sounds fun. I want to go do that. And the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association in Glendale. One of our Be Connected care navigators learned that the veteran was experiencing financial distress due to being a victim of bank fraud. Okay, let's pile on, right, folks? Do we know anybody like this? That it just keeps getting layered on top of them? Eviction proceedings were imminent. 2 different organizations, MOA, Military Officers Association of America, and Veterans First. Veterans First, yay, came together to provide financial assistance to satisfy the judgment, allowing the veteran and his son to remain in their home. Additional assistance, so I think we're at like that many right now? How many is that? Okay, thank you. Additional assistance was provided through our Be Connected Transportation Program and other partners, so that adds another 2 additional organizations that contributed to that. The great news is that the veteran now has a new job, is applying for a VA home loan, that's 13 now, to purchase a home for his son and himself. Social determinants of health resolved or in motion are continuing. He is now able to focus on his mental health with his therapist and reports increased positive feelings and that his son was very happy with what Santa brought him. That's us. Another example of this is we've seen trends in barriers, including situations where existing transportation resources cannot be met. There was a 90-year-old veteran that needed to travel over 200 miles home in a rural town in Arizona to his cancer treatment. So he had to be about 200 miles away from his home. He was able to stay with his daughter, awesome, during the week for treatment, but he needed to travel home on weekends to be with his wife of 71 years. And he's going through cancer treatment at 90. Does he need his wife? Yeah, it's his other half of his heart, right? Okay. He was seeking assistance for travel stipend. We were able to work this out. This was referred by a VA social worker. The community, state, DVS, others got it done. It's exciting, right? Okay. We have thousands of stories like this at Be Connected. You have, thousands of stories like this that you've participated in. We're going to meet those individual needs of folks. We're going to meet the collective needs of the veterans within Arizona. It is an honor to serve alongside of each and every one of you. And now what I want to do is do an even better service to everyone and introduce Nicola Winkel, everyone's favorite Winkel.
Good morning, everyone. It is really good to see all of you again. So I'm Nicola Winkel, Project Director for the Arizona Coalition for Military Families and Be Connected. It has been 4 very long years since we last gathered in this room. Some of you were there or had attended one of our previous symposiums. For some of you, it is your very first time attending. No matter if this is your first or 13th symposium, we welcome you and thank you for being here. I want to take a few minutes to make sure we're all on the same page as far as where we started, where we are, and where we are heading. We can't yet truly know and understand the impact of the last 3 years on each of us as individuals, on the people we serve, and on the community at large. As we emerge back into our new normal, we want to acknowledge that we're not the same as we were 4 years ago, and yet the mission remains and the need continues. There are 500,000 service members, veterans, and their families living in Arizona. We say that all the time, and yet when you really think about it, that is a huge number of people. And we collectively, all of us, and the organizations and communities we represent have stepped up and said, the well-being of those 500,000 people and their families is important, and we will commit our time, energy, resources, and focus on doing what we can to improve their lives, the care they receive, the support they have, and the circumstances they live in. During an 18-month period in 2015 and 2016, the risk of suicide for Arizona veterans was 3 to 4 times the general population. And this was a significant elevation over the rate during the past decade, which has been double the civilian population. Understanding that information set the conditions for federal, state, and community partners to come together and launch Be Connected. Our ultimate goal was suicide prevention. But knowing that each death by suicide represents potentially hundreds more people who are struggling, our overall goal was upstream prevention to address all social determinants of health. 4 years ago, I shared that Be Connected had made great strides, but had likely reached only 1% of our focus population in Arizona. At that time, we laid out a path that would take Be Connected from primarily being a responsive program only to adding a proactive component to better reach, engage, and support those at greatest risk. Looking back, it is interesting to see that the path we have been walking the last 4 years is the same one laid out in 2019, although slower and with more detours than was anticipated. Over the past year, I have had the opportunity to hear from leaders from the VA and other organizations, and they reiterated some important things to keep in mind. The first is that suicide is preventable. We have to believe this, because we've seen what happens when suicide is viewed as inevitable. The belief that it is preventable leads to a road of action. The belief that it is inevitable leads to a road of resignation and inaction. Also, we have decades of research and knowledge about what puts people at risk for suicide, protective factors that help prevent this outcome, and evidence-informed approaches for addressing suicide. The gap we need to fill to move from having knowledge and information to taking action to seeing outcomes is to put these pieces together. Who do we need to focus on? What do they need? How do we best engage and serve them? And how do we track outcomes? I'm pleased to share with you today the launch of our Be Connected Risk Reduction Program. This launch is the culmination of 4 years of work behind the scenes in partnership with Arizona State University and with technical assistance from the CDC. The vision we set forth in 2019 is now ready for implementation in 2023. Over the last decade, despite the efforts of many, the rate of suicide for Arizona veterans has been more than double the general population. While historically suicide prevention efforts have focused primarily on crisis intervention, Arizona took the first steps to add an upstream prevention approach by establishing the Be Connected program. When any service member, veteran, or family member or helper reaches out with a need, we respond and provide support, navigation, and resource connection. This responsive approach is essential, but what if we didn't have to wait for someone to reach out or be in crisis? What if we could identify those at higher risk and proactively reach out to them so they know that Be Connected is here for them now and into the future? The Be Connected risk reduction strategy is built on this proactive approach. With support from the CDC, we created tools to identify those at greater risk due to factors such as age, geographic location, disability status, and more. With this information, we develop evidence-informed approaches to reach, engage, support, and connect service members, veterans, and their families. For example, ensuring veterans who are filing disability claims are aware of other resources available to address their social determinants of health, and connecting transitioning service members coming to Arizona with community support. How do we measure our success with this approach? A change in suicide rates is a long-term measure, often taking several years to yield a difference. So how do we know what we are doing today has the intended impact on the future? The Be Connected risk reduction strategy uses short and intermediate outcomes as measures for reducing suicide risk. The theory is that by reducing suicide risk in the lives of individual veterans, over time we can reduce the rates of suicide across the entire population. These outcome measures for reducing suicide risk include increased access to care, increased access to support, improvements in social determinants of health, and increased social connectedness. Our collective goal is strong crisis response and upstream prevention with an evidence-informed comprehensive risk reduction strategy. Suicide is a complex issue with no simple solutions. This multifaceted approach is how we can work together proactively to reduce risk for our veterans and eliminate disparities in veteran suicide. Join us in being part of the solution. So I'm pleased to share the risk reduction projects that are underway. The Arizona Department of Veterans Services and Arizona Coalition for Military Families are honored to be the recipients of one of 80 awards for the first year of the VA Staff Sergeant Fox Suicide Prevention Grant Program. Our two services, high acuity care transition and coaching into connection, are specifically designed to focus on reducing risk factors for segments of the military veteran and family population who are at high risk. We also have projects focused on Arizona veterans who are filing service-connected disability claims, as well as service members who are transitioning out of the military and coming to Arizona. Over the next year, we intend to conduct 6 to 10 projects as part of an intensive evaluation process for the risk reduction strategy and approach. From there, we will continue to grow and expand this effort. So if you have a segment of the population that you believe is at greater risk and would like to partner in a project, we are ready to work together on this risk reduction strategy. Recently, I was in Washington, D.C., helping teams from other states and territories who are pursuing the same work as our community here in Arizona. At the end of 3 days of challenging work developing an implementation plan, one of our colleagues from Puerto Rico gave us this reminder. She said, "The task before us collectively is to set the conditions for people to choose to live." It's a simple way to look at a complex issue. The conditions for people to choose to live involve the person themselves, their individual situation, the people around them, the benefits and services they receive, the community they live in, and the systems they interact with. It is a lot of factors, a lot of variables. But I was touched by her comment because it is grounding to remember that with all that we are trying to do, that is our goal, to set the conditions for people to choose to live and to thrive. Today, even as we celebrate how far we've come, how we have weathered the last 3 years, how we have continued forward, we also recognize the immense amount of work that is still to be done. The necessity to continue to push ourselves as a community to not settle, to not accept outcomes as inevitable, but to deeply believe in our ability to collectively make a difference, to do very challenging things like set the conditions for people to live and thrive. No one here or anywhere in Arizona can do this alone. And while each of us doing our own thing will have tremendous good, no doubt, good impact, by all pulling in a common direction, together we can make a greater collective impact. There is an organization in Africa that takes in orphaned baby elephants. Most of these elephants have experienced significant trauma. Some have witnessed their mothers die at the hands of poachers. Some have suffered injuries or got stuck in a place like a well and had to be rescued. The keepers raise the elephants, but providing for their physical needs alone is not enough. If you simply give warmth, food, and water, they won't thrive. They also need care, nurturing, and connection, which is provided by the keepers and their fellow elephants. And they have to learn the skills and ways of living wild. And after many years of this care and support, one by one, they make their way back to the wild to live the life that was intended for them. The woman who started this organization had a vision that one day those baby elephants would grow up, live wild, and have baby elephants of their own. And that's exactly what has happened. At least 55 and counting. And some even returned to introduce their infants to the keepers who raised them. This woman said, "But for me, what would have been?" Consider this. But for me, but for us, what would have been? What will be? There are parallels here to the work we do. We cannot focus only on the practical needs of the people we serve. They also need care, connection, and community. And so it reminds us that we want to take great care with each individual we serve, but we also want to have a generational and exponential impact, the results of which we may not ever fully know. This mission is challenging. It is long. It will take from you, but it will also give back. And most of all, it's worth it for us to be able to look back and say, but for us, what would have been? So we have to keep going, use our best knowledge, our best collaboration, and our best passion to do what we know can and must be done. Create the conditions where people can choose to live and thrive. Thank you.
I really like her. Elephants, right? Good stuff. All right. Over a decade ago, we approached the Franciscan Renewal Center to see if they would join us in actively supporting veterans. Since that time, they have done remarkable things to support them, and with their spiritual health, with their ability to recover from moral injuries. And I want to introduce to you my good friend, retired Phoenix Fire Captain Dean Pedrati, who's going to introduce their latest effort to ensure the Arizona veterans have been seen and heard. Dean?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thomas, you could have called me the oldest person. But Garland, you've been here a lot more than me. It's a pleasure to be an honor to introduce our presentation this morning. My name is Dean Pedrati. I'm with the CASA Veterans Ministry, and 12 years ago I saw a flyer across my desk as a paramedic trainer, and it was called Paint a Moving Train. And I have to tell you that coming here that year and listening to 3 veterans speak was incredibly transformative to me. Between the 3 speakers, one of them is here, Patrick Ziegert, and if not for you, what would have been Patrick? The CASA Veterans Ministry is the first vetted faith-based community approved by the Coalition, and over the last 12 years, we've served hundreds of veterans with retreats, programs, workshops, and events, and one is coming up in 2 weeks, and you're going to get a little snippet of that this morning. In addition to serving veterans, one area that we consider critical to the journey of healing for veterans is civilian awareness of veteran issues. And so with that in mind, I'd like to draw your attention this morning to Lyman Ackers, who's going to come up and introduce a snippet. And Mr. Ackers is the theater instructor at Ironwood High School. He's beloved by his students, his faculty, and his alumni. And in fact, he is the director of the Peoria Unified School District Alumni Student Showcase. And they have done over 50 productions serving 25,000 people. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Lyman.
Thank you, Dean. Suppose I told you that storytelling is more important to your well-being, or just as important to your well-being as maintaining a balanced diet or getting a good night's rest. You might think I'm overstating my value as a theater director because, after all, theater is just storytelling. I need you to understand, though, that since we have been on this planet, we have sought out opportunities to gather together and share stories. Anciently, our tribes met together around a nighttime campfire, perhaps recalling the last successful hunt that we had, with the hope that the event schedule for the next day would be just as successful. There is a universal impulse to share stories. Storytelling can give us context to our past. A well-written story can be compelling and often unflinching in its telling. As we listen to the story, the impulse that brought us together begins to respond. We see and hear things that resonate within us. And we are moved not just in sympathy, but we feel what the characters are feeling. This moment of catharsis will very often prompt us to share our own stories. A Piece of My Heart shows 6 women who sign up for Vietnam. It shows their first day in country and every day after. It shows how they struggle to cope with the horror and brutality of war. We see them during a mass casualty event where the base hospitals are overburdened with wounded and the compound is overrun in a sapper attack. We see them as they cope and try to escape from the burden of the brutality they face every day. When they return to the States, they face rejection, deal with addiction, cope with suicide ideation, feel disconnection from society, and find little support. The play depicts the reality of reintegration, which culminates for these women in a nightmarish flashback scene, which prompts them to seek help. The importance of this theatrical work is, number one, to share this important story of these women, and number two, to make the impulse to share your story resonate within you. We want this performance to open a door and indicate a path for reintegration, to show that there is a safe space where service members, veterans, and their families can find healing from their emotional and spiritual wounds of service. It is a very special play. If you only see one play this year, this is it. If you only see one play in your entire lifetime, yeah, this is still it.
Army brat, Martha O'Neill. Dad a career man, mom a military nurse, World War II. I was born in Fort Benning, grew up in Fort Bragg. One day in junior high, this girl came in crying. Her dad was going to Vietnam. They had to send her home. It must have been, 1961. So I knew early on about Vietnam, about Americans there, Americans being killed there. Back in my mind, I want to go there, be a Navy nurse and serve our country and protect our men.
I was the lead singer of the Sugar Candy's all-girl band, Mary Jo Kincaid from Beaumont, Texas. We'd come to LA to get discovered and did country and rock, and were about 17 years old and thought we were the living end. We hadn't gotten too far yet, but one day in '67, an agent told us he could book us. Mini skirts and little white go-go boots to go entertain 500,000 boys in Vietnam. Well, I was out of my mind. 500,000 American boys grooving on my music and loving me because I'd be lifting the worries of war right off their shoulders with my love for them. $1,000 a month apiece and airfare and all expenses paid, he said. Oh boy, book me on.
I wanted out of Erie, Pennsylvania. I was turning 17 and didn't want to rot in Erie, Pennsylvania till I was 40 years old. I didn't know anything about Vietnam. That wasn't the point. The point was, I wasn't into the college scene. My high school counselor said to me, well, now, sissy, what is it you want to be? A nurse, a teacher, or a secretary? Oh, well, sir, a nurse, I guess. I'll help mankind. Now, my biggest problems during my first year of nursing school were I had no self-control and I couldn't stand to see other people in pain. But my instructors told me, you don't have a choice here. Just get in there and do what you're told. So, there's this old man in a coma, and I'm supposed to give him a shot of penicillin in the rear end, and now I'm really a wreck, but I do it. And he immediately comes out of the coma, and I think, oh gosh, I just did a miracle. I can do anything. I'll join the army. I'll save the world.
I was graduating from Vassar in primary education, already been offered a position for the boarding school for the fall term, when I saw an American Red Cross form on the placement board. I went to an interview. They said they had 2 groups going overseas early next summer, Korea and Vietnam. Well, Saigon's this sophisticated, cosmopolitan city, they say. Besides, it snows in Korea, doesn't it? Whereas Vietnam has this wonderfully warm climate, I'm told. I went home for the weekend to tell my parents. But Dad, Mother, if I'm going to do anything with my life besides be an old maid boarding school teacher, I might as well do it now. Looks! Whitney, if you insist on running off to the ends of the earth, do be aware that this will be a decision of some consequence. So please, dear, please, do carefully think it through. But don't you see, Mother? I already have.
I was anti-war. I hated Nixon. I knew he was a liar and evil. So did my friends. We were hippies. Woodstock, bell-bottom jeans, headbands, the long hair, the pot. And then I remember Kennedy going, what can you do for your country? Well, I was 21 when an Army recruiter came to my nursing school, and she showed us this wonderful film about the glamours of being an Army nurse, all their wonderful hospitals all over the world with all their modern equipment. We didn't have zip at my nursing school, so I have to say I was very impressed. So after the film, I asked, but do nurses have to go to Vietnam? No, she replies, women volunteer for Vietnam. And I know my friends are thinking I'm crazy, but there are 2 others who are ready to volunteer at any minute. And I'm thinking, Leanne, this is a perfect opportunity for you. This can help pay for your last year of nursing school, since money is very tight for me right now. And you can express your opinions of the war by helping Nam soldiers when they get back from Nam, in maybe Hawaii or something. Because I was born and raised in New York my whole life, and I'm half Italian, half Chinese, and faced a lot of prejudice there. I wanted to go to Hawaii where everyone looked like me.
Well, now, I'd been a WAC for almost 18 years when I decided to go over to the NAM. First joined up in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I was born and raised. They asked me, hey, Steele, what MOS would you like to be? Well, I'm a college graduate, and I've been teaching music, so I'd like to join the Army band. So they gave me the 4th trombone part to audition with. And if you know anything about music, you know that's the hard part, the doopity-doo. So I'm playing along with the band when Commander-in-Chief Warrant Officer Helen B. Whitehead, you're gonna believe that name, has made some secret prearranged signal with the band to stop at a certain point. So all you're hearing is me going doopity-doopity-doo-doo-doo. Well, anyhow, by 1967, I'd edited an Army newspaper, run an education center, was a linguist in Francais and Espanol, was a prisoner of war interrogator, and was in strategic intelligence. And I knew I was hearing lies about Vietnam. Well, I'll just go on over there myself, I thought, and maybe for once, my intelligence and experience will be used to save some American lives.
I report to Washington, D.C. at the American Red Cross Center for 2 weeks of training.
Ladies, you tell military rank by the stripes on a shirt sleeve. 1 stripe, 2 stripes, 3 stripes. Is that clear?
Yes, very clear.
Ladies, you tell the difference between the Army, the Navy, the military, and the Air Force by color. Green, gray, blue, green, and by style. Button up, button down, cut straight, cut away. Is that clear?
Oh yes, very clear.
Ladies, there are rules of etiquette. A time to drink, a time not to drink. A brand to drink, a way to drink, a drink to drink. Is that clear?
Oh yes, very clear.
Ladies, there are proper ways to respond to off-color remarks. There are proper ways to respond to everything. There are ways to be worthy of the American Red Cross. Is that clear?
Yes, very clear.
At all times, be feminine.
Never swear.
Never be provocative with men.
Because you are a Red Cross girl.
A symbol of purity.
Goodness and light.
Sister, mother, girl next door.
The all-American girl to every serviceman you meet.
No sexual involvement of any kind.
Forbidden. Against the rules.
Now, is that clear?
Oh yes, very clear.
Well then, nurses.
Attention.
This morning, we are gonna march. Hut, 2, 3, 4. Hut, 2, 3, 4. Well, welcome to the U.S. Army, Miss New York. March.
March? I'm a nurse.
You're an Army nurse, and you are gonna march.
Captain, how come you don't teach us how to shoot a gun?
We do not teach you how to shoot weapons or carry weapons because women do not go into combat. Now march, Miss New York, march.
Say, Captain, how come we're always pretending to march as if we're going through a jungle of punji sticks?
Because you will probably end up in the jungle, Miss New York, in Vietnam. March.
Vietnam? Oh, no, my recruiter said Hawaii.
Hawaii, Miss New York?
Honolulu, Wakai.
Well, you must have been slightly misinformed.
And that's how it starts. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And perhaps you recognize the naivety that goes with that beginning of the story. And I would like you to come and join us to see the rest of the story. It's been called the most important story about Vietnam in America, the most enduring story. So we'll be performing on May 7th. Come and see us. Thank you.
All right, one more round of applause. You think youth in America are going to forget you? Nope. Come on, guys. No. That's the whole... Yeah. Female women veterans, Vietnam era. Please stand. Yep. 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 Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. I would now like to welcome up our leadership panel. If you have not been invited to a leadership panel, don't come up. Otherwise, please come up. And we also have this video that I would like to show for you. Thank you. Come on up, folks.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Erica Scavella, and I serve as VA's Assistant Undersecretary for Health for Clinical Services and Chief Medical Officer. I'm so excited to learn about your conference and everything that each of you do in support of our mission to provide world-class care to veterans and to fulfill upon President Lincoln's promise to care for those who have served in this nation's military and for their families, caregivers, and survivors. Community liaisons are vital to everything we do within VA, and without you, we would not be successful. Bringing together federal, state, and local organizations, veteran service organizations, elected officials, and VA employees is vital to us meeting our goal. I'm so excited to hear about the Be Connected program in Arizona and the networks of support you have created to support veterans who may be at risk for suicide. As you know, Secretary McDonough and Undersecretary for Health, Dr. Elnahal, have made suicide prevention our top clinical priority. You have identified upstream risk factors that may affect a veteran's risk for suicide. In VA, we call these social determinants of health. We thank you for including risk factors and social determinants as part of your conference agenda. We look forward to hearing more from you, learning more from you, and most importantly of all, partnering with you. On behalf of the over 380,000 VA employees, we thank you for your partnership, your commitment to our mission, and for working with us. Have a wonderful conference.
Yeah, we really want to thank Dr. Maureen McCarthy for being able to help coordinate some of these videos that we've received, and we really appreciate the Assistant Undersecretary's comments. Thank you very much. All right, folks, we've got a great panel. For those of you who don't know, these are the directors of Arizona, and this is a panel that I hope helps you to connect with them more, have an understanding. I think it's very rare across the country that we have the opportunity for, hospital directors to be out and about and doing this type of stuff. Certainly they do town halls. They just are constantly doing that type of work. But this is a little bit different format. So we always appreciate each and every one of you coming and participating in this. We have Jennifer Katowski. She is the director of Southern Arizona VA. We have Brian Matthews, Director of the Phoenix VA Healthcare System. Really happy to have you here. Welcome aboard. Chris Norton, Director of Phoenix Regional Office with the VBA. Steve Sample, he is the Director of Northern Arizona VA Healthcare System. And of course, you all know Dana Ullman, Director of the Arizona Department of Veterans Services. Woo! All right, folks, let's jump right into this. So every social determinant of health is important. Let's discuss one of the most basic first. Ms. Skatowski, what can you tell us about how Southern Arizona VA healthcare system is addressing food insecurity?
Well, first, let me just thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's very important to me personally, the work that we do. My father is a Vietnam veteran, served as a Navy corpsman, and lives with me and my family full time, and gets all of his care from the VA. So it's very personally important to me, the work that we do. And I know many of my team members from the Southern Arizona VA are in the house today. Woo, woo. But I do want to take a moment to talk about what we are doing about food insecurities. And I was sharing with my team that I was going to be here today, and in the spirit of storytelling, they sent me a story today, actually. And I think this really says it all about how many folks are part of this community in making this happen. So one of our registered dietitians sends me a note and says, you know, she answered the phone last week, and it was a veteran who was here on campus for an appointment. She had missed her pickup time, but was hoping to get some food. She was able to run over and meet her right away, and she was so grateful. We discussed our resources for ongoing support, like Be Connected, and she shared that she anticipated being in a much better financial place next month or so, but that here and today, she had almost nothing and was limited due to new health concerns. She was so grateful to be able to get the food right away, and it truly felt like making a difference in her life in that moment. To date, almost 300 veterans have been served by what we call the Patriot Pantry, and that Patriot Pantry exists because one dietitian recognized that food insecurity was really impacting veterans' lives. And that one dietitian worked with veteran service organizations who donate food to this Patriot Pantry and provide this resource. And if it wasn't for Be Connected, where we heard about a pilot program about how Be Connected then takes veterans and connects them with other food banks, food pantry, and even they had a pilot where they were delivering food to their doorstep. That is what this is all about. It gives me chicken skin.
Yay, she said it.
We always joke about chicken skin versus goosebumps.
Goosebumps, yes.
Because I was in Hawaii for a couple of years, speaking of Hawaii, and they have no geese out there, so they only have chickens. Anyway, but that really just highlights the importance and of the community. And we're here today because of each and every one of you. And it's important for you and your organizations to become part of this network. My goal is to demystify the VA and what we stand for, because we're all people taking care of people, and that's what we're here about. Thank you.
Spot on. Awesome. Mr. Matthews, Brian, please tell us about the exciting Veggies for Vets program in Phoenix. I love that name, first of all. Veggies for Vets. How perfect is that, right? Please.
Yeah, and I'm not really a vegetable person, but I had a chance to. I'm Brian Matthews, and I've been with this healthcare system about 4 months. I'm a 22-year Air Force veteran who actually retired from Luke Air Force Base. So this is kind of a homecoming back to Arizona. But I had a chance to participate in our last Veggie for Vets, and it was an amazing experience. Gregory Market puts this together. Ms. Gregory, she does all of the fundraising. She gets all of the vegetables. They assemble all of the bags, and it really makes it a successful event. During this event, we scheduled it from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. We had 300 bags that we were going to hand out. Within 35 minutes, all 300 bags were gone, and our veterans were very appreciative of that. Our next event is going to be at the Phoenix facility, and we're going to have 700 bags, and I'm confident that it's going to be just as successful.
I love this one because, as we all know, it's not just that you have food, right? It's that you have quality food. and vegetables are such a key important part of that. You know, they give you a little bit different energy and all that kind of stuff. So being able to focus on specific things like that, I think, is communicating a wonderful message. And I bet those 300 veterans were extremely happy with that. All right, so let's switch over to housing and homelessness. And I'm going to stay with you, if that's okay. Let's talk about some of the, there's a lot of issues going on with homelessness right now. Prices across the state. It's not just a Maricopa thing. It's a Flagstaff thing, a Mojave County thing. It's a Sierra Vista thing. All across, it is extraordinarily difficult. What is the Phoenix VA doing to help homeless veterans achieve stable housing?
Well, it's another top priority of the VA, and so it's not just the Phoenix VA, but across the nation, all VAs. And you may have heard of what we call a point-in-time count, and across the VA, we do those typically in December, and it's an opportunity for us to go out and count the number of homeless veterans that we can reach out to. And this is important to know because it really helps us determine how many vouchers we need, housing vouchers we need. This last point in time count, we're still waiting for the data to come in, but the year before it allowed us to add 60 vouchers to our program and bring our total up to 1,100 veterans vouchers. So we are actively using 970 of those vouchers. The VA set goals for us. Phoenix has exceeded the goal as well as the VISN. And so we're very proud of that. And then in our healthcare system, we have what we call a CRRC, a Community Resource and Referral Center. And not all VAs have those. And this is an opportunity for homeless veterans, street level homeless veterans to come to this facility, that resource, and get the resources they need to address their homelessness. And so it provides transitional housing that hopefully leads to permanent housing. It gives an opportunity for their healthcare needs to be met. We have what we call a homeless patient-aligned care team that consists of a nurse practitioner, a RN, and an LPN. And they take care of all of their healthcare needs. We address any mental health concerns that they may have, any substance use disorders that they may have. And then we also look at employment opportunities because we want to make sure that whatever direction that they're heading is sustainable. And so we have a very robust social work team, over 30 social workers associated with this program. And they are fully engaged with the community, working with landlords, making sure that our HUD-VASH vouchers are utilized. And so, there's always a lot that we can do, but, we just can't do everything by ourselves. And that's where, Be Connected and the partnerships that Be Connected has established become so important. Because you think about it, we find a house for a veteran, the veteran opens the door, walks in, and they have 4 walls. And the VA, we are not able to provide furniture and silverware and flatware and all of that. And so that's where organizations like Be Connected and everyone else becomes critical because they truly make that house a home for veterans.
Huh. That's thank you. I appreciate that. I think the collaboration with the kind of primary organizations in that in the housing and homelessness, U.S. Vets and Arizona Housing Coalition, Department of Veteran Services. It is that teamed with innovations like the CRRC, which I think is a little unique to Arizona. Those are really powerful. That's a really powerful team. And so then you kind of layer a little bit of Be Connected in there, and which includes all of us. And I think we've got a really strong team. So thanks for your words on that. Okay, we have spoken about food. We've spoken about housing. Mr. Sample, Steve, please share with us what your team in Northern Arizona is doing to assist with transportation.
All right, thanks, Thomas, and I'm glad you didn't ask me a veggie question because I'm with Brian. I'm not much into vegetables.
You're an anti-Veggite,
Yeah.
is that?
Brian,
Okay.
yeah,
okay.
So thank you for that.
Yep.
I also have a lot in common with Brian. I spent almost 23 years on active duty in the Air Force, and as Brian and I like to tell Thomas, that's the preferred service. But when I'm sorry.
You know what their motto is? Whoosh.
Any other veterans from the preferred service out here? Okay, I see several. Thank you. All right. All kidding aside, it's fun to have the civil rivalry or the service rivalries. But transportation is really it's an issue. And in northern Arizona, our catchment area is 65,000 square miles. So northern Arizona is gorgeous, but nothing is close. So it's a challenge for us not only to provide services to our veterans, but it's a challenge for our veterans to get services just because of the distances. So there's a couple things we do, and the DAV is a great partner to the VA, but specifically in northern Arizona, I look at the DAV support as a force multiplier to help get veterans to the care they need. So we have 12 routes that we're currently running, which includes Flagstaff, Lake Havasu, and Prescott. We're always looking for ways to expand that, but thank you to the DAV and the tremendous volunteers that do the driving for that program, not only for us in northern Arizona, but also for Phoenix and for Tucson. And then we have the VTS program. So the VTS program is the Veteran Transportation Service Program. We have 14 vans. We have 4 new ones that we've gotten within the last year, which really helps us get veterans to the care that we need. The DAV, generally, we pick up at a location and bring people back to the VA for an appointment. VTS, we could actually pick you up at your house. And we focus on the Prescott and Quad Cities areas up in northern Arizona and also the Verde Valley. But we also have transportation out at Kingman, and the Kingman driver actually goes from Kingman to Flagstaff to Prescott to Phoenix and up to Las Vegas, Bullhead City. So there's a huge area that is covered by that. But there's a large space that I didn't mention, and that's a lot of the eastern part of the state. So I was in a meeting a few months ago that was set up to meet with the Hopi Nation. So I was meeting with a panel of veterans from the Hopi Nation. We were talking about access to care and stuff, and they said one of their top concerns and their issues is really transportation. What are we going to do about it? So we said we're working on it, but that can't always be just VA, because we're pretty good about getting you to an appointment, but think of all the needs, and Thomas covered a lot of the social determinants earlier, but care was part of those, but there's so many other pieces that aren't healthcare related, and that's really where we rely upon so many different community volunteers, so many of the different VSO organizations to help with the transportation need. I saw Pete out here someplace who runs there he is over there, runs the Northern Arizona Coalition. So we've had in a few meetings with Pete, and this is back when we were having some challenge with DAV. He said, Steve, we gotta help focus on getting this fixed. So we did, but it's a partnership. It takes us and it takes the community, it takes Be Connected. So again, none of us could do this alone. We're all in it together. So thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. All right, so all of that is also the things that we've spoken about. They're also tied to economic stability. So, Chris, would you explain a little bit more about how the VA is helping in terms of things like the new PACT Act regulations?
Be happy to.
Yeah, thank you.
So PACT Act. Okay, I'm Chris Norton, Director of the Phoenix VA Regional Benefits Office. Been here about 7 years. Proud big brother of a Gulf War I, as well as OEF, Idaho National Guard career veteran who just recently retired. So it's really an honor to be able to serve our veterans and give back to somebody for all of you that have done so much for us. So PACT Act, boy, I hope this isn't a new word for anybody in the room at this point, because it's really the biggest change to veteran benefits since really the original GI Bill following World War II. And in a nutshell, what PACT Act is going to do from a compensation side is allow us to provide benefits to our veterans much easier than it has been historically to do so. For our Vietnam our veterans in the room, it's really no secret that it took years and years and decades in many cases of fighting for a VBA to recognize certain disabilities that were due to in-service herbicide exposure, Agent Orange. What PACT Act does is going to allow us to provide benefits much easier for our most recent era veterans, as well as providing benefits for our remaining Vietnam era veterans that have hypertension. We can now automatically, presumptively provide service connection benefits for a number of respiratory conditions, rare and unusual cancers, any disabilities that we don't know of yet, but we can begin to identify clusters that by their very nature of their service, their exposure to burn pits, their exposure to toxins, their exposure to radiations, exposure to whatever service that we don't even necessarily know just yet, but we do know that we're starting to see clusters of these unusual disabilities in our veterans. The PACT Act is going to allow us to presumptively provide benefits, removing that burden of proof on the part of the veteran and make things much simpler. So we've already seen about a 30% increase in compensation claims coming our way since the legislation was passed last August. It's really a tremendous change in the way that we deliver benefits, making things much easier, much less adversarial, allowing us to help our veterans in a much more friendly manner.
That's great. Yeah. If you know a veteran, get them to go do their new evaluation and all those kinds of things. I know I've got mine scheduled. Anyone not planning on not doing that? By show of hands? Anyone not planning on doing that? Okay. If you are, then come talk to Chris or Amanda. Okay. We want to make sure everybody's taken care of. All right. So, we've talked a lot about, some of these different things. That's a huge one. Obviously, you heard from my story earlier today, there's the kind of standard things that are offered, like the VA home loans and those types of things. All of these help to create a sense of economic security. So that's really, really important. But there's lots more other social determinants to discuss. Steve, would you mind just kind of hitting a little bit on, I know you touched a little bit on Native American veterans already, but would you just touch a little bit more on, some of the recent changes that have occurred there?
Okay, sure. When we look at, and I focus on highly rural veterans. So, because I'm looking at getting access to care. So when we started thinking of the social determinants of health to us, in Northern Arizona, because we have so much highly rural areas and veterans living there, that we focused on access to care. So I thought it was very interesting earlier when Nicola was talking about the risk strategy, because one of those was increase or improve access to care, and that tied in exactly with what we were doing. In Northern Arizona, we have about 33,000 unique veterans. And when I look at the market penetration, we're at about 70%. So that means 30% I'm not reaching. So that's probably 9,000 to 10,000 veterans. And a lot of those are in our highly rural areas. So I have a lot of staff here today that comes from our CBOCs and our main station. I also have 2 of our rural health coordinators here today. And we're focusing for the Native American veterans. There's 4 areas that we are focusing on. And that's really the 4 sectors are the Western Agency, the Chinle Agency, Fort Defiance Agency, and the Hopi Nation. So we've had a tremendous amount of engagement out there. We have more engagement to come. I'm making a trip out there. We're partnering with Albuquerque VA to go and meet with the Navajo Nation and the changeover of leadership and tribal leadership within that nation. Because again, it's reaching those veterans where they are. And that's the challenge we had before. We only concentrated on a few cities. My goal since I've been here, and you could ask my staff because I'm sending them all over Northern Arizona, is to get out into the community to enroll them and let them know about care. And thank you to Chris and his team, and thank you to the Arizona Department of Veteran Services, Dana, your team, because they partnered with us to get out there. And when we have these events, we're talking about the PACT Act, we're getting people enrolled in care, and we're setting them up for the toxic exposure screening. And a lot of that is out on the nations.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I mean, it's such incredible work. It's important. It's valued. It's in some cases long overdue, and so we appreciate all the efforts, really, that all three of you had. I want to
Thomas, can I mention something additional on
you
that
may
note?
always mention
Thank
something
you.
additionally.
We were talking about the PACT Act, and I just want to make sure that
Please.
folks are aware. As part of the PACT Act, Native Americans and American Indians and Native Alaskans are now exempt from copay as part of the PACT Act, and that was perceived as a barrier before, and now that's no longer the case. And that's, I think, important to make sure that that word gets out there. There is so much good in the PACT Act that is out there, and that is one of the pieces. I just want to bring attention to that. So thank you.
No, I love it, and I really appreciate that, because there is a lot to unpack with the PACT Act. Okay. So would you mind closing us out with some thoughts on the importance of moving forward together?
Thomas, I just, first of all, give all of them a round of applause. Because what I'm hearing is out of the box, gap analysis. This is what we do every day. And I know with our, ADVS, head up by Nicole Baker, my public and intergovernmental affairs, they're out there too with their folks to get to everybody we can in rural, everywhere. And so when we talk about suicide prevention, this is what we're talking about. Looking at every factor that could lead to I'm not thriving. We want everybody to thrive for a lifetime. We prefer that we figure that out on the front end as they're leaving, so they never have food insecurity. They're never on the street. This is wrong on its face, but we're doing everything together to make that happen. So that's what I'm thinking about. Just how innovative that we are, and I know that we are the example for the rest of the country of how to get that done. People are asking us to be a part of conferences at the national level to explain our best practices. So that's why it's so important that we're here. We're providing accurate information, we're sharing best practices, and we're learning from each other. What else can we do? We stay vigilant, and that is so important. We've got to thrive, and we're going to do it together because we've got to take care of each other as well. We're public servants, so we sacrifice. We don't even think about it. We just go on to the next mission. Who's the next soldier? Who's the next Marine? Who is the next person we want to take care of? But it's a two-way street. We collectively need to check on each other. I like to check on people. That's why I'm so happy I'm going to continue to go across the state, because I have to see you eyeball to eyeball to make sure you're right. I've had different commands, and every day, the thing that I struggled with, did I do enough? And that's what I know all of you struggle with. Did I do enough? Did I catch all those signals? Because as a commander and any of my other positions, I have to be able to figure out, and my teams have to be able to figure out, have we created an environment where folks trust us? They could be in crisis, but we don't want to get there. We're forward thinking and make that happen. So, I don't want to worry about, I have to. Are you homicidal, suicidal? Are you thriving in your professional work? And doggone it, if we've got a trust built, if you're having something going on, significant emotional event going on at home, you're going to tell us so we can determine the gap we've got to close for you and whose doggone desk we have to get on. So anyway, those are the things that I was thinking about. And I've got plenty more to talk all day, and you don't want to hear me. So thank you.
Brian, Steve, Jennifer, Dana, Chris, thank you very much. One last appreciation.